Okay, I'm Bill Laney. I've been doing Catalyst for about 20 years now, and I'm going to do a session on Marc here. So, I'll start by observing Marc a little bit and watch him as he gets settled in and kind of acclimatizes himself to the table here. All right. All right. I'm going to move in here and very gently do a tactile scan. Marc's back, the musculature is very negotiable. All right. Okay, Marc, when you're ready, go face down. I'm noting the breath. And once again, Marc is acclimatizing himself to the table. And I'm going to do another tactile scan. I'm looking for peace in the body. In Catalyst, what we seek to do is find areas of peace and expand those areas of peace. We're not looking for what's wrong. Now, if during my scan my hand moves over an area that is challenged in some way, I will take notice of it, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. I'm going to be aware of it, and at a later point I may choose to address that by contacting an area of peace that will be connected to or that will engage that challenged area. So, even though Marc had good breath to begin with, we're going to seek to increase breath here. And I think you can see that he's breathing more deeply than he was before. Just moving the legs, picking the legs up just an inch in this particular case, engages the upper back, Marc's upper back, and promotes better breath. Now I'm going to move more through a range of motion in the back. All right. In Catalyst, when we deliver a technique or a contact, we want to give the participant, which would be Marc's role in this particular case, we want to give the participant adequate time to process that contact. We kind of have a rule of thumb which says that we allow them to have 3 breaths. Now, we may actually give them more than that, or they may not need 3 breaths, but it's a good rule of thumb. All right, as a facilitator, I can notice a difference in the softness or negotiability of Marc's upper back. Raising the legs, which promotes more breath in that area, also promotes more peace in the upper back area. So now I'm going to shift over into a different kind of scan that we refer to as a dynamic scan. And in a dynamic scan, I will rock Marc's hips back and forth very gently, and I will visually track the progress of that movement up his back. And we're looking for a nice wave in the back or in the entire torso. And in this particular case, this is very good because we have movement in Marc's back all the way up to the shoulders. And in other cases, in a participant that's more challenged, we might rock him back and forth, and that motion might stop, say in the mid-back, which would indicate that that there's some holding going on at that point. We refer to it, the motion, as being rooted. But in Marc's particular case, it's very good. It's going all the way up. That's good. Okay. Notice the response. Nice big breath there. One thing we're beginning to do a lot of is a thing we refer to as passive movement. In this particular case, the facilitator moves a portion of the participant's body. And if the participant did that, they would have to engage their muscles to do it. And they would not be able to fully experience that motion in their body or that movement. So in this particular case, I'm going to raise Marc's hips just a little. We don't have to do much. Okay, I can feel a little motion, some processing in there in his hip. All right, release on the breath, on the exhale, and allow him to process that. All right. Quite a response to that. Now Mark is continuing to respond to that contact. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that we want to give him at least 3 breaths. But it may go on for lots longer than that. As long as he is responding and processing that contact as a facilitator, I want to give him space to do that. And so I will not make a contact until I feel that he's ready and that he has finished processing that last contact. Okay. Mark is receiving this session very, very well. I'm going to do another tactile scan here to see if I can take note of anything that's changed for the better. And his musculature feels much more negotiable. Now when I talk about him being negotiable, sometimes when we make a contact on a participant's back, it may be very hard. And that would be an expression of a certain non-negotiability. After raising the legs, doing some passive movement, maybe doing some dynamic scan, that negotiability, that tonality of the participant's back will get much softer, as if they are processing the contacts. And so that's what I mean by negotiability. So with Mark right now, I can feel, his muscles are not flabby, not soft in that respect. There's good tonality. But I can go down and very easily feel the hard tissue below his musculature. And by hard tissue, I simply mean the bones, his bony structure there. And so this is very good. All right. I want Mark to remember this state of being. So I'm going to do a technique that we refer to as neural reorganization. So we're going to make some gentle, slow and gentle contacts to the cranium that we're going to vector back towards the brainstem. This is a technique we use in the integrative stages of the session. where basically the participant is encouraged to integrate the context that they've received and integrate the processing that they've done. And once again, he's processing those contacts. Okay, Mark. The session is over. And when you decide to get up, I want you to think about what you're going to do first. Are you going to move your arm? Are you going to move your leg? I want you to get up very slowly. And I want you to do so in such a way that you will keep as much of the feeling of this session as you possibly can. This is a thing that we refer to as practical integration. We want you to take as much of this session with you as you possibly can. Okay, as a facilitator, I'm observing that Mark's back is very straight. This is something that we want to encourage.
Thank you, Bill.
You're very welcome.
I felt very, very gentle, very very encouraging, and exploring more of what I feel, and empowering in terms of giving me the time to experience that and kind of work it out and integrate it, and also giving me a lot of time to kind of melt into the session and melt into the table. And it was a very gentle ushering, if you will, to greater peace. I just felt peace kind of moving up through my body, and then kind of just permeating me from head to toe, and then allowing for practical integration at the end. And now I feel in a great space right now, a lot of breath and peace throughout. So the process differs from session to session in terms of there might be more movement that I need to explore and dissipate. It might include more dissipation or more reorganization. And some sessions are even less interactive in terms of, I tend to go deeper within myself in terms of awareness and thoughts and clearing that aspect of my being. And so that looks like a typical session, and there's also a great variety and variability from session to session, depending on what shows up in the moment, what I'm ready to integrate and process. So I feel like a session like this, which we tend to call a dose of awesome, aka neurological nutrition, it really helps to reset my system when I need that, and at other times it seems to just expand my awareness and my ability to be pliable with motion and movement and breath and peace, physically, but also mentally and spiritually. It kind of helps me expand, I feel, as a being. And then being able to facilitate sessions really helps me kind of integrate at a deeper level. When I'm facilitating a session, I kind of feel the effects within me and the continued effects. And so, and it allows me to participate to a greater degree when I'm receiving a session. It allows me to kind of see how somebody's processing, kind of gives me ideas, and I know sometimes not always consciously, sometimes on a subconscious threshold, and then that kind of brings out greater possibility during my catalyst sessions when I participate. Thank you, Bill. I feel like it's a dance between facilitator and participant, and honoring the process and empowering the participant to a greater degree. And every time I get a new catalyst session, I feel like I add just a little bit more participation within and throughout. And so yeah, I really get a lot of that neurological nutrition, and I always feel like I'm expanding, and obviously it feels amazing after the session, and that lasts until the next one.